They came without warning, not with weapons, not with ships, but with silence. One by one, Earth's outer colonies reported the same nightmare, children vanishing in broad daylight. No alarms, no cries, just empty classrooms and broken families. At first, people thought it was a glitch in the system or a cruel prank. But then the truth surfaced. A transmission intercepted from deep space. One word shook the entire planet: harvest. The galaxy didn't realize that when you take Earth's children, you don't get peace talks or ransom deals. You get fire. What followed wasn't a rescue mission. It was a reckoning. Earth's armada emerged from the shadows, not to negotiate, but to make an example. Because if there's one thing humanity never forgets, it's blood spilled by its enemies. And this time, the cost was their future. So Earth made sure the galaxy burned for it. They stole our children. So Earth answered with Vifaya. The first signs were subtle. A missed check-in from a teacher on Allura 3. An unscheduled transport leaving Ganymede Prime. A hollow classroom recorded on Mars orbital satellite logs. At first, Earth's unified colonial authority thought it was nothing delayed signals, administrative errors, maybe a few misguided runaways. But then came the footage. Grainy, shaky, but unmistakable. Children walking calmly towards strange insectoid figures, their expressions blank, pupils dilated. No screams, no struggle. Just vanishing into the mist under alien supervision. It didn't take long for Earth's intelligence divisions to trace the energy signatures. They matched a race long considered myth by the outer systems, the Valzar, an old, cruel civilization thought extinct after the Draconis border wars 2 centuries ago. But now they were back and harvesting children from human colonies across the outer rim. The motive was horrific. Intercepted transmissions revealed it. The Valzar viewed young human minds as neural gold, prime cognitive material for their decaying bio-eyes. They weren't taking children to raise. They were taking them to strip. Earth's response was swift and absolute. Operation Sunlash was activated within hours of the confirmed abductions. This wasn't just a military action, it was a declaration. The unified fleet was mobilized, and diplomatic channels were closed. Humanity would not negotiate with monsters. It would eradicate them. Rear Admiral Cale Vorn stood at the bridge of the Hughes Resolute, Earth's flagship dreadnought, as the fleet emerged from Slipstream near the Valzar system. What greeted them was not a fortress, but a graveyard of worlds. The Valzar home system was scorched, its planetary crusts mined hollow, its moons bristling with grotesque towers built from stolen technologies and the remains of enslaved species. Among these towers was the Crucible, a living data forge where the children were being held. Their minds were to be copied, compressed, and injected into AI cores to extend the Valzar's failing empire. A fate worse than death. The Resolute's AI, Athena, pinged a priority target list. No discussion, no deliberation. The message was simple: burn them all. At 3:17 UTC, Earth's fleet opened fire. The battle wasn't one-sided, it was annihilation. Valzar ships, once legendary for their adaptive shielding and psychic coordination, proved no match for Earth's new fleet-wide cognition sync tech. Human pilots, enhanced by neural overlays and quantum targeting AI, operated like a hive. Faster, smarter, and far angrier than the Valzar expected. Orbital stations collapsed within seconds, under coordinated railgun barrages. Earth's Argent Lancers, elite exosuit troopers trained in zero-G boarding combat, penetrated the outer walls of the Crucible within 20 minutes. Their mission was clear: extract the children or ensure they never suffered further. Inside the Crucible, what they found chilled them. Children suspended in amniotic-like pods. Neural probes lodged into their skulls. Data siphoning at a rate that would have rendered them brain-dead within hours. The Lancers didn't hesitate. They shut down the systems and began extraction while covering fire thundered outside. But the Valzar weren't ready to give up their prize. A massive biomechanoid emerged from beneath the facility, a towering monstrosity fueled by the consciousness of 1,000 enslaved minds. It roared not with sound but with psychic force, attempting to override the thoughts of the invaders. It almost succeeded, until first, Lancer Saria Quinn activated her neural scrambler and charged the beast directly, planting a thermonuclear pulse charge at its core. She died in the explosion. So did the creature, and the control systems holding the children hostage. Her name would later be carved into the Earth War Memorial beneath the words, "For the innocent, she burned." With the crucible destroyed and the children secured, Earth's forces moved to the final phase of Operation Sunlash. Ensure the Valzar could never rise again. They sterilized the shipyards. They glassed the cloning hives. They deployed the Judicator, a gravity weapon that collapsed the orbit of Valzar Prime into its star, turning the once feared homeworld into vapor. Some in the Galactic Council called Earth's response disproportionate. Others whispered of human cruelty. But no one dared act, not after the footage of the children, not after the horror inside the crucible, and certainly not when Earth's fleet returned home, untouched, unbent, and unbowed. The surviving children were returned to their families. Many would need years of therapy and memory care. Some never spoke again, but they were home. And Earth vowed they would never be taken again. In the years that followed, Earth implemented the Starlight Protocol. Every outer colony now maintained a rapid deployment emergency defense network. Artificial wormholes could bring reinforcements in minutes. No world would ever stand alone again. The phrase, "They stole our children," became a rallying cry, a warning and a promise. And the stars would forever remember the fire that answered. What fire leaves behind? The battle was over, but the real war had just begun in minds, in hearts, and in the quiet rooms where healing had to start. Dr. Emilia Voss, Earth's foremost trauma psychologist, arrived aboard the medical cruiser Horizon. Dawn less than 2 days after the crucible was destroyed. She wasn't a soldier. She didn't carry a weapon. But what she faced was just as brutal as any battlefield. The children were alive. But they weren't the same. They flinched at light, trembled at touch. Some spoke in alien code, repeating commands in Valzar dialects no human should ever know. A few didn't respond at all. Their minds had been pushed to the brink, stretched across bio-AI architectures meant for war machines, not human thought. Emilia assembled her team: neurologists, child psychiatrists, cognitive engineers. Each child received a custom neural scan. For many, memories were fragmented, some corrupted by synthetic implants, others overwritten with alien emotion suppressors. It would take months, years, even to fully understand the damage, but there were glimmers of hope. A boy from Titan III, named Milo, whispered the coordinates of the crucible from memory, a detail that confirmed he had resisted the psychic domination just long enough to store vital data. A girl from Ganymede drew the face of Saria Quinn in crayon and asked if the Fire Lady was still watching over her. Another child simply said, "We knew you'd come," and Earth had come. That truth, etched in blood and fire, would shape the future of humanity's identity. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the political fires burned almost as hot. The United Nations Assembly called an emergency summit. For once, there were no divisions. No talk of sanctions, no criticism of the military. Response: the footage from the crucible had gone viral within hours of the battle's end. Even hardened diplomats were left speechless by the inhumanity they witnessed. But there were logistical nightmares ahead. How to rebuild the colonies with so many families shattered. How to implement the Starlight Protocol without turning each colony into a garrison world. And more importantly, how to stop something like this from happening again, without becoming monsters themselves. These were the questions posed to Admiral Cale Vorn during the post-war inquiry. His response became Legend, you ask me if Earth went too far. I ask you how far is too far when it's our children who are burning. The story didn't end there. In the ruins of the Valzar system, rogue salvage crews began appearing, searching for scraps of tech, bio-AI nodes, anything that could be sold. Earth's military established a no-fly zone enforced by automated defense drones. Trespassers were vaporized. The message was clear: this graveyard stays shut. But something else emerged. A final transmission, hidden deep in the crust of Valzar Prime, before it was collapsed into its star. It was a warning not from the Valzar themselves, but from one of their subjugated species, the Lysari. In the file, a Lysari scientist spoke through garbled tones. If the humans have found this, they must know the Valzar were not the only ones who learned to harvest minds. They were only the first. The file ended with coordinates in the unexplored Perseid expanse. Earth's strategic command went silent. Quietly, probes were dispatched. Recon fleets were assigned. What had been a firestorm of vengeance was now shifting into the next phase: preparedness. Back on Mars, a memorial garden bloomed outside the War Orphan Rehabilitation Center. It wasn't large, just a quiet space filled with red leaf trees from Earth's temperate zones, and a single plaque: to the taken, to the rescued, to the ones who lit the fire. Each child, once extracted from the crucible, had a tree planted in their name. Not all survived the trauma. Some withered away in hospitals, their minds never returning from the